All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is David Patrick Carey with Church of the Eternal Logos. And today we're going to be diving into the degenerate and unfortunately very popular Ashley Madison in the latest Netflix docuseries highlighting the sex, lies, and scandal of the dating app or matchmaking app for married couples, which actually is for the purpose of adultery and creating situations in which married people can have affairs with each other. So shout out to my friend Jonathan, and his wife actually recommended that I check this docuseries out. I wasn't even aware of it, but apparently it's recently come out on Netflix, in which they track the hack that happened in 2015. For those of you, I mean, I'm sure some of you guys remember what's going on. But in 2015, hackers known as the Impact Team hacked the, again, adulterous site Ashley Madison and released many of the names and entities, as long as with their financial records and photos, videos, and stuff that they shared in these chats. And unfortunately, that was detrimental to a lot of people's marriages. But I'm going to bring up in the opening monologue here and ask what you guys think about the Impact Team, the hackers that actually expose all this stuff. Because unlike most hackers, they actually weren't out to sell the information. They wanted Ashley Madison to shut down the website for what they believe to be deception and immorality, rightfully so, both of which are accurate, which we're going to talk about a little bit today. So, today's stream, I'm going to be going over a little bit of this docu-series, what it was about. I'm going to inform you guys the whole premise of everything, as well as talking about some of the themes within it that I think are important. I have 6 major takeaways from the docu-series, and then we'll look at some of the details of it. I got multiple articles and videos pulled up. I mean, I remember all the commercials and stuff of Ashley Madison. They had a Super Bowl ad that got pulled because, fortunately, probably 20 years ago in America, a website that was promoting adultery was seen as too scandalous to be advertised during the National Football League Super Bowl game. Now, not so much. And we're going to be looking at some of their commercials in which the basic premise is life is short, have an affair. And they literally advocate for married couples that if you feel sexually unsatisfied, well, then sign up, create an account, and you can then fulfill your sexual fantasies with another married person somewhere in your local area. And it'll all be kept secret. Nobody will find out. And if nobody finds out, no harm, no foul. That's basically the marketing campaign of Ashley Madison. We're going to be talking a little bit about their absolutely degenerate and wretched former CEO, Noel Biederman. He is a Jewish gentleman who really took over Ashley Madison before it really skyrocketed in its popularity. At the time of the release of everybody's information, there was like 37 million people from around the world. I wrote down 15 different languages, 46 different countries, and 37 million people. Unfortunately, it still exists today. So despite a company that guaranteed, and we'll talk a little bit about it, guaranteed privacy, guaranteed protection, guaranteed secrecy, guaranteed that nobody would find out about your stuff, and even also offered a service in which when you wanted to delete your account, you could pay $20 extra. And Ashley Madison told customers that they would delete the entire record of everything, which of course they didn't. And Noel Biederman bragged about how many millions of dollars they were actually making by people creating accounts, potentially having affairs, meeting people, and then wanting to delete their account, of which none of it was actually deleted, despite them paying $20 extra for the service. Biederman, and we're going to watch some of the YouTube videos. We're going to do a little, way back in history here. We're going to go back to some of the early 2000s interviews that he had on all these various news sites and see him talking about how adultery and having affairs is beneficial for marriage, that it actually makes marriages more healthy, and so on and so forth. And his big selling point, right, was that he was married. He was actually, according to the internet, he's still married to the same woman. I believe her name's Amanda. We'll look into that here in a few. She was also Jewish, and she would go on some of these interviews with him and talk about how, oh, yes, we're monogamous. Yes, I know my husband is the CEO of Ashley Madison and it promotes affairs, but he would never do that on me. We have very open communication. That was Biederman's whole thing, is that, my wife and I, we don't need to do these things because we so fully communicate. Well, during the hack in 2015, not only did the hackers, the impact team, release the names of everybody that was involved, any customer, but they also released all the interior emails from Noel Biederman, which included multiple emails, which highlighted that he, in fact, was having an affair. Even so, ironic, right? Ironic that the CEO of an adulterous website was lying about himself not being adulterous and using that as the primary marketing campaign. Apparently, they're still married, but within the leaked emails that the Netflix docuseries shows is that he was very interested in young-looking females between the ages of 18 and 19 who were escorts, and it showed multiple emails in which he would contact escort services for young girls to meet with, and highlighted where they would meet. He would ask them to bring 2 or 3 girls and he would pick one. And so the guy was an absolute degenerate. Not only did he run a deceptive website, and I know that Moray, he was in the chat and he highlighted that the docuseries reveals that the majority of the female accounts on Ashley Madison were total bots. They were run by AI program. This happened during 2015. So I think from 2012 to 15, they were using AI to create bot systems to have these artificial conversations with men. And it read exactly like a sexual fantasy of a older married man would want. It's all these young, pretty girls, looking like they're in their mid-30s, claiming to be married, the vast majority of which weren't even real. And so Biederman not only lied about, services like deleting people's information, not only lied about this website being highly protective and its primary goal is protecting people's sensitive information. Not only did he lie about himself not being adulterer, and this would, even though he offers this service, and we're going to watch videos in which he's claiming it's beneficial for marriage, but he then was also having not a affair, but multiple affairs on his wife, who he had multiple children with, and used her as the marketing campaign. So he created billboards, and this company comes out of Toronto, Canada, but he would use his Jewish wife to be on billboards. It said something like, "My wife is hot, but so are ours. AshleyMadison.com. Life is short, have an affair." So he used his wife to promote having an affair on the website while doing the entire marketing campaign that he is monogamous, his wife is monogamous. They don't participate in this stuff, but yet she was the face of some of the campaigns. Very interesting. We're going to watch some of these commercials, and I'm even going to go to the website to show you how they're still marketing it today, because despite the hack, despite Noel Biederman actually being ousted as the CEO by the board of Ashley Madison, they didn't shut down. Obviously, that was the intention of the hackers. They continued on. And according to them, they now have 70 to 71 million users around the world that are participating on this website, trying to have an affair with whoever it may be. The docuseries highlighted that the sexual fantasies that people would discuss on these websites, much of which got released publicly, included like mostly threesomes. Married men would go on there wanting to have threesomes with like two women. Also threesomes with men would want to have threesomes with other men and one woman, or homoerotic activity. Very, very strange stuff. And so it's funny that this whole thing was marketed towards men. The way that the business worked is men. So unlike other matchmaking services where you buy like monthly subscriptions, Ashley Madison, you bought credits to send messages. And so, it's evil, but it's a bit ingenious, is that they would have men sign up. They would see all these female accounts, but to message the female account, you had to buy more credits. And so you'd buy credits so that you could send a message. And then, of course, the vast majority of the women were bots. They would send a message back, and you'd have to spend more and more money to send more and more messages to these supposed women to discuss your sexual proclivities and whatnot. Now, there were women on the site, but the vast majority of them were bots. And so men were spending thousands of dollars basically to articulate sexual fantasies and send dirty messages and dick pics and stuff like this to the website, of course, which the website kept all this stuff. And unfortunately for many users, it was made public. And we're going to be talking about some of the users that were made public. There was one couple in specific that was sort of primary within the documentary. This was Sam and Nia, I think it's a reader. And they still have a YouTube channel that has like over 2 million subscribers. I recently checked for today's stream, and it doesn't look like they get tons of engagement lately. So I was looking at videos. They still upload videos. They get around 16,000 or so views, but that's not necessarily that big for a YouTube channel that has over 2 million subscribers. But Sam and Nia were a Christian couple in Dallas, Texas. And we're going to talk a little bit about, again, more of the details of everything. But Sam, the husband, actually created an account on Ashley Madison. And this was one of the harder things for me to watch in the docuseries, is he had everything. He married basically his high school sweetheart. She was a beautiful woman. They had multiple children. He had a good paying job. She was a great, fantastic wife, did every traditional Christian thing you think a wife should do. And yet he, because of his sexual fantasies, and we're going to get into a little bit about fantasy when I go over my 6 main takeaways here. He created an account, and he wanted to have the sort of validation and recognition of other women, and was messaging other women. And eventually he gave this up. So he was on Ashley Madison, used all of his real information. about 2 years later, after he stopped using Ashley Madison, they had posted a video of a lip syncing of the Frozen song. Again, they had little children, and this went viral on the internet and basically was a catalyst for them to create this YouTube channel and this online Christian family vlogging brand. And so, according to the docuseries, Sam was never on Ashley Madison again, and their YouTube channel was skyrocketing. He was able to quit his job. He was doing it full time. And on their way to a vlogging Christian family conference, so I guess it's like sort of vloggers that are Christians and that kind of oriented around family content. There was a meetup in Seattle, Washington. This is in 2015. And he was in the airport right before they go to have dinner at Chili's, and he was searching and saw that the Impact team had hacked, and now they threatened for 30 days. They threatened that they were going to release all this information if Ashley Madison didn't shut down their site. Of course, we'll get into it. Noel Biederman, the Jewish CEO, did not want to shut down the site because the only thing he was interested in was making more and more money, and he wanted to take the company public and put it on the stock exchange. And that would have been millions and millions of dollars for him and some of the other high-level employees of the company. And so he had no intention of shutting the website down, despite the fact that an outside party had all of their data. And so the hackers, after that point came, released the information. And Sam Reeder, sitting in the airport, saw this on Twitter, and he began frantically searching for his name. And at that point, he didn't see his name come up. And about a few hours later, he saw a tweet of somebody saying, "Hey, did I just read that Sam Reeder had an Ashley Madison account?" And so the docuseries discusses and documents their entire journey, of which then he has to confront his wife and tell her that he was on the website and basically destroy this perfect Christian scenario that many of us young men, we would die to have the situation that he was in. And it ends with his wife ultimately forgiving him. And I have a clip that we could watch of them kind of discussing the reconciliation process, but he eventually had to confess not only to creating an Ashley Madison account, but to multiple other scandals within their relationship, going to strip clubs, sexual parlors. What was some of the other stuff? He was hitting on some of her friends, which she didn't know. And again, they had a very tight Texas Christian conservative group of friends that they had. And apparently he had made advances on some of her friends without her knowing. And these friends had left her life, and they never really gave her a reason for why they never wanted to be present in her life moving forward. And she never knew this until he confessed that it was because he made sexual advances towards her friends. And eventually he confesses all this stuff, and they work it out. And they're really the only example, at least that the docuseries makes explicit, of somebody who dealt with the public disclosure, the hack, and actually were able to maintain their marriage. It's funny because the docuseries highlights two marriages which never had any of these problems. And are they really marriages? One was with, what's his name? Evan Back. He is a homosexual man. He becomes the vice president of sales. And you can tell he's kind of flamboyant right at the beginning of the docuseries. And then he makes a point. This is probably during the first episode. There's a 3-episode docuseries. I think each one's about 50 some minutes long, less than an hour, right around an hour. And Evan Back says, "Oh yeah, well, me and my partner, we would never do this." And then you find out that he's married to a man of 20 some years, and how, oh, well, they're monogamous and they would never do this stuff because they're so open with each other. And then the other couple is a open marriage in which it's a black woman and a white man. The white man is very open about his preferences for black women and how he used Ashley Madison to find black women to meet up with, which according to him in the docuseries, he met multiple women, and his wife was totally okay with it. So his wife is a dominatrix, and apparently she is on her third marriage. And so she had been married twice before and cheated on both of her partners. And this third marriage with another gentleman who was on Ashley Madison, apparently they have an open marriage. And so their policy, what makes their marriage so strong is that he lets her know if he meets any women and is going to bring them back to the house. And apparently she's okay with this. And then she's a dominatrix, and she dresses up in leather and pegs men and does sexual acts with men for money. And this is kind of portrayed as the two marriages that actually was able to navigate and maneuver these situations and never have problems. But of course, with the Sam and Nia Reader, it highlights a Christian couple that did fall victim to this, but they were able to mend their relationship. And there was another instance, unfortunately, a man in New Orleans was caught having an account on Ashley Madison. And this gentleman was a professor at a seminary in Louisiana, New Orleans. And he had spent his entire life as a Christian educator at this seminary for Protestant pastors. And what happened is his wife, she said that she always speculated that maybe something was going on. Her husband was a professor. He was kind of secretive about stuff. She always felt like he had secrets. And in the docuseries, it highlights that when the Ashley Madison leak happened, she wanted to find if whether her husband had an account, because she had a sneaking suspicion that he might. And so she wasn't very sophisticated with the internet in 2015. And so trying to go through all the hacked information that was made public, she said, is a little bit more difficult than I thought it was. And so I kind of just gave up on it. I didn't want to give them more of my information to get more access to the hacked data. Well, fast forward about a week later, she was at home talking with her husband. He goes to work. She comes back later in the day. She worked at like a Protestant church of some sort. She comes back home, talks with a friend in the driveway, and then goes inside and couldn't find her husband and thought it was very strange. He should have been home. Normally he's in the kitchen. And she goes to the garage to find that her husband had killed himself. And she had no idea why he would have done this. Now, again, she obviously had sneaking suspicions, but at that point, she hadn't put two and two together. And so that night, after her house was filled up with neighbors and friends, again, they lived in a very tight-knit Christian community. Somebody who worked with him at the seminary said, Christy, we have something that we want to tell you in regards to your husband's death and something that happened at work today. And what she found out was the dean of the university, or the seminary there, was made aware that he had an account on Ashley Madison and that he had an affair on his wife. We don't know the details of what he was into or how it happened. The docuseries doesn't discuss that, but it discusses how much shame he felt, and that he began bawling in the office there in front of the higher ups at the seminary, and said, I know that I need to resign. You guys are asking me for my resignation. So he resigns from his position as a professor, of which he maintained his entire life. And apparently his education was specifically for some of the higher level pastors. I think it was like a THD, a theological degree. And there's just no way that he could, in good conscience, be a professor at this Christian school anymore and teach young men about God when they're going to go out and be pastors in the world. And he came home and killed himself, and he didn't even tell his wife about what happened. And so unfortunately for her, she found out about his account and the affair due to the university finding out from somebody contacting them, and then realized that this is why her husband killed himself. So a lot of unfortunate events. We're going to dive into all this stuff. So guys, smash that like. So much to dive into today. It's going to be more of a relaxed stream, so it's not going to be a lot of philosophy or intellectual stuff. I'm going to kind of cue you guys in on the whole docu-series. So if you want to watch it later, you can. You'll basically know everything that's going to occur. So in a sense, at the end of this stream, you wouldn't have to watch the docu-series if you don't want to. But anyways, smash that like. I want to make a few quick announcements before we get started here. And so let me pull those up real quick. Guys, if you'd like to support my work, one of the best things you can do is become a website member. We had a previous premium members think tank meeting this past Wednesday. It was great. If you guys would like to join some of our private conversations, you can do so with this link right here. Would really appreciate that. And also, we got a whole exclusive video library, lots of stuff that maybe is a little bit too spicy for the TOS here on YouTube. So you can check all that out over at the website. Right here, we got multiple videos already brought up, along with 2 streams that YouTube has taken down in the last 2 weeks. So if you want to check out those older streams that YouTube has deemed misinformation, you can find those out over at the website. It's only $5 a month, so get that. Also, if you guys would like to purchase a one-on-one session, if you guys want to dive into some topics, we can discuss whatever your heart desires with this link right here. And also, if you would like to sponsor a stream, we got some 3 sponsored streams in the works right now. We'll be doing the UFO deception by Father Spirit and Bailey. We'll be looking at an overview of British Isle Orthodox saints. And we'll be doing a deep dive and deconstruction of the Church of Christ. Those are the 3 sponsored streams we have lined up. If you have a good topic that you'd like me to dive into for a stream, you can do so with this link right here. Would greatly appreciate that. And also, guys, I'm part of something that I am wanting to share with everyone, and I'll start sharing in the streams. You guys know I've been talking a lot about eschatology, Orthodox eschatology, prophecies of contemporary saints and elders. And the gentleman, I'm working with a gentleman, and we are creating, or he is creating, and I'm trying to help facilitate and help him wherever I can, a website called the Eschaton Vigil. And it's going to be a incredible resource. Nothing in the world, especially in English, for access to all these prophecies. So if you are interested in the book that I showed you guys, The Eschatological Visions of the Blessed, the author is creating a website that is going to house thousands and thousands of prophecies. As I said, book 2 is coming out, and it's already close to 800 pages. That first book's, I believe, less than 200. So many prophecies coming out. And if you would like to have access to that, you can join for free the email list today. You just go to the website, sign up, use your email. You'll get notifications. But soon we'll be launching, I believe on July 1st, we'll be launching a membership program to this. Not about me. It's not about any YouTube content creators. It's specifically a resource to have all this information that's kind of localized within Russian and Greek made available to you in English. We're talking about full translations of books that can only be found in Russian, made available for members in English. So if this is something you'd be interested in, go check out eschatonvigil.org. I guarantee you it's going to be something that is going to be worthwhile for a lot of people. And also, if you'd like to support my work, go to the website, get yourself a t-shirt or some type of merch. Would greatly appreciate that. And last but not least, if you guys are in the market for any Orthodox items, check out orthodoxdepot.com. orthodoxdepot.com. It's a great Orthodox company right here in the Midwest. And if you use promo code COTEL, you get 10% off all items. It's a great way to help me out, as well as a good Orthodox company here in the U.S. So if you're looking for icons, prayer ropes, incense lamps, whatever it may be, go check out orthodoxdepot.com. See if they have anything that you're looking for. And if they do, use promo code COTEL. I'd greatly appreciate that. All right. So before we get into my main takeaways, I actually want to introduce the docuseries to you guys. And so what I'm going to do is actually play this video right here. This is the article of Netflix. So I'm going to play their little advertisement of the docuseries so you can see what it's like. And then I'll read this article real quick to kind of give you an overview of the whole docuseries so you know what it is. And then I want to give you my 6 main takeaways and what it all really means to me after that. So let's check this out real quick. This is, I think it's just like 2 minutes long. Let's see if this will load. It was having trouble loading earlier if I didn't refresh the page. Okay, there we go. Okay, so check this out. This is the 2 minute and 12-second little tease trailer of the docuseries Ashley Madison, Sex, Lies, and Scandal documentary stays faithful to the drama. So I'll read this article in just a second, but check this out.
I love being a dad. I love my wife. It was a beautiful marriage, but it was also just like monotonous. I remember seeing an advertisement, life is short, have an affair. I was like, that sounds intriguing.
Ashley Madison was ahead of his time.
The vision was to be the largest and only website for married people who wanted to have an affair. When I would go to trade shows, I would say, who's your biggest competitor? And I'd say the Bible.
And that right there, that's the homosexual man that is sort of, it's not made explicit, but subtly implies like the gay man actually had a true monogamous marriage that, didn't incorporate infidelity. Yet, I think he's clearly not Christian. And some of the comments he makes, he thought it was the Christian fanatics and these American evangelicals who are behind the hack, which we have no idea who actually was the impact team. I'll discuss that a little bit more, but that's the gentleman. So you can already imagine he kind of has an Elton John vibe to him, right?
I thought it was a great idea. Go on a site and you're able to tell this stranger your deepest, darkest desires.
I signed up with all my real information, which obviously was a stupid decision.
At that time, cybersecurity was just starting to enter the public consciousness.
Security came up quite frequently. We talked about it. We were worried about it.
Ashley Madison was a cash cow. And then all of a sudden, we got hacked. It was chaos.
This hack is one of the largest data breaches in the world.
If that information got out, this would ruin a lot of people's lives.
Everyone was looking for dirt, looking for names that they recognized.
And name after name started coming out.
You had celebrities being disgraced.
It was an absolute witch hunt.
I had no idea what was coming.
It was all over the media, like, what is going on? Just such a selfish decision. I felt so humiliated.
I wanted to get into bed, pull the sheets over my head, and put on the Golden Girls.
This could be the biggest hack of all time.
Everyone was wondering who was behind it.
The theories were all over the place. Maybe it was a competitor.
Cheating husband.
A disgruntled employee. Here's a giant whodunit. This went way, way too far.
We all have a list that we're on that is our secret.
Accusing people, trying to publicly shame them.
Started to realize a lot more is going to come out.
So there's a little tease trailer for the docuseries. Let me read this article real quick. Guys, smash that like. Also, if you'd like to support the stream and my work, please feel free to use Streamlabs or Dono Chat to send in super chats or ask questions or comments. Or if you prefer to use YouTube, feel free to send in super chat using YouTube. Or if you're really generous on this Friday, feel free to gift some COTEL Crew memberships. I know the chat always appreciates that. So let's go through this little overview of the whole documentary. Life is short, have an affair. With those 6 words, the Ashley Madison Agency, the online dating service for married people, curious about the possibility of adultery, launched a bombshell of a business proposition. The company's bold invitation angered many and attracted even more, making the business millions of dollars and courting endless media attention. For several years, it seemed like there was no limit to Ashley Madison's success. And then, not like a sordid love affair, it all came crashing down. Ashley Madison's Sex Lies and Scandal chronicles the rise, fall, and rebirth of a website that has had a profound effect on countless couples and families. Featuring interviews with former employees and clients, the documentary series presents the unflinching look at what happens when millions of secrets are exposed at once, told through the eyes of a group of people who experienced it firsthand, and many of them offer some surprising perspectives. We all know infidelity can be incredibly destructive and hurtful, but at the same time, the fact that Ashley Madison had 37 million members tells us something else we all know, that committing to one person for the rest of your life is really hard, series director Toby Patton told Netflix. Rather than berating people who joined Ashley Madison, we were much more interested in exploring why they were drawn to the site, what were they looking for, and what was going on in their relationships, and crucially, what was their partner's side of the story? What is Ashley Madison? Founded in Toronto in 2001 by Darren Morgenstern, Ashley Madison functions much like a dating website. For a fee, people, although it's free for women, and like I said, the business model was that men had to purchase credits to message the women the whole thing was the belief that Ashley Madison had a large number of women. They publicly claimed it was 60-40, 60% men, 40% women. However, it was something more in the range of like 90-10 in reality, because much of the females, as we said earlier, were bots, and that these conversations were done by AI, and it was all geared to create sexual stimulating fantasy-like conversations. So anyways, the women were told online that they could create accounts for free, because the whole thing that Ashley Madison needed was some real women to be there. They needed real women. So they could create accounts for free, create a profile, and interact with other members in the hopes of forging a connection. What initially separated it from many other sites, however, was the vast majority of the member base were married or in a relationship. According to his brother and former creative director of the company, Morgenstern was inspired to create a platform for adulterers after seeing a statistic that 30% of people on existing dating sites were married. Because the interactions on Ashley Madison were clandestine, the site claimed to keep users safe with extensive security measures. Of course, we find out in the docuseries that the privacy was at no point a priority for the company. And in fact, the badges, I don't know if we'll be able to see it, but the website would have all these badges as like gold star rated security protection, guaranteed private security. These were all made in-house. They were fake awards that people at Ashley Madison used Photoshop to create to try to sell the idea that the website was really secure and safe. Who was Ashley Madison's CEO? Now, this is a man that I said was an absolute dirtball of an individual. This was Noel Biederman, the Jewish CEO, who, again, was out there promoting the idea that he was monogamous and that adultery was actually beneficial for married couples. Meanwhile, he was a complete liar and fraud. While the website logged hundreds of thousands of signups during its first few years, things took off after Noel Biederman became the company's CEO. Biederman brought his childhood friend Evan back, that's the homosexual man, on board as vice president of sales, and the two adopted an aggressive marketing strategy. When the company's ads were rejected by major networks, Biederman made the rounds on news programs and daytime television, pitching Ashley Madison's unique, bold prospect directly to the U.S., often with his wife in tow. Yes, the woman that, again, he was having an affair with, he was publicly claiming they had a perfect marriage. During these interviews, the Biedermans posited that a website wasn't capable of creating a cheater. Rather, the company was simply meeting an existing need. By 2015, the site boasted some 37 million users and had launched in more than 40 countries. But at the same year, the future of Ashley Madison was threatened by a hacker group calling itself the Impact Team. What happened next would change the course of the site and many people's lives forever. What happened to Ashley Madison? The Impact Team told Ashley Madison to take down its site or its user base would be exposed to the public. Of which, again, I wanted to make a point here. This Impact Team, the documentary highlights that most hackers, when they gain access to private information like this, they want to sell it on the dark web. The Impact Team, this hacker group, had no intention of selling the information. What they wanted was for Ashley Madison to shut down. Now, accordingly, they did send some emails to various or somehow they got connected with various users and said that if they send one Bitcoin, which at that time was somewhere between like $225 and $300, that they would not include their private data in the public release. Many people obviously weren't aware of that. Many people didn't even know what Bitcoin was at that point. And so, unfortunately, their information was made public. But the Impact Team really just wanted the website to shut down. They took control over all operations within the office. They took over the entire data set of everything that the company had, including, as I said, the private emails of the CEO, Noel Biederman. And Biederman, because he wanted to make the company, he wanted to take it public, he had no intention of shutting it down, even though, he had so much to lose in the fact that he becomes officially disgraced when people find out his proclivity for young escorts. But, I'm going to ask here in a second whether justice was served in the Impact Team, because the docuseries brings up that and the Toronto police wanted to prosecute the Impact team for international crimes, for the releasing of public data and stuff, or the stealing of even financial information and that type of stuff. But was it justice? Was it beneficial? You know, as we said, the gentleman in New Orleans killed himself because of what happened. Now, the docuseries, some people claim that the Impact team is responsible for the multitude of divorces that occurred after this information was made public, as well as the people who committed suicide. Now, I'll leave that up to you guys. I mean, I think if anybody's offing themselves, that's their decision. And if somebody is committing adultery, that's also their free will decision. So, you know, I'll discuss it here in a few. Do I hold the Impact team responsible for that? I'll let you guys kind of marinate on it first. But the executive team at Ashley Madison moved quickly, hiring a cybersecurity team to track down who was behind the attack. But 7 days later, the Impact team released its threat to the media. News outlets around the world breathlessly speculated about what would happen if the identities of Ashley Madison's user base were exposed. On August 18, 2015, the Impact team made good on its threat and released Ashley Madison's clientele files. On August 20th, an even larger data dump was released to the public, this one containing email evidence of Noel Biederman's own infidelity. What was revealed in Ashley Madison's data breach? As promised by the Impact team, several thousand names and email addresses associated with Ashley Madison were released to the public. News outlets began to scour the list in order to find out the names of any celebrities, politicians, or notable figures with accounts, of which Hunter Biden was one of them, which I found predictable, right? That apparently out of many of the celebrities and whatnot, Hunter Biden actually had an account on Ashley Madison, and many speculated that who knows if he had met up with anybody. Obviously, as we said, many of the women were bots. Wouldn't be surprised if he did. I mean, we know Hunter Biden's an absolute dirtball, and he tried to get his brother's widowed wife addicted to crack, and of course slept with her, had an affair with her with his own wife, with his brother's widowed. But the Biden family's a mess. I don't think anybody needs to hear that more about that. Ashley Madison's Sex Lies and Scandals features interviews with some of the couples affected by the leak. Among them are Sam and Nia Reeder, a couple who found viral fame on YouTube during the 2010s. Sam decided to join Ashley Madison as a means of bringing some excitement into his life, but the leak was just the beginning of the unraveling of his lies. You can read more about Sam and Nia Ashley's Madison story here. And again, we can do that if you guys want to look more into it. The data breach also revealed that the number of active female users was much lower than prospective male customers had been led to believe. While many men thought they had been interacting with interested women, they were actually messaging with employees posing as clients. Does Ashley Madison still exist? Amazingly, yes. During the height of the scandal, employees reported the site traffic had never been higher. Years after the controversy, the site has experienced a resurgence and still has a broad consumer base. And so here is their website right here. This is the live Ashley Madison website right now. And it says, millions of people just like you are looking for a discrete connection. When monogamy becomes monotony, again, trademark, that's one of the Ashley Madison trademarks. Whatever brings you to Ashley Madison, you can feel safe knowing that you're not alone. Our members are attached in seeking a connection. Many are attached in seeking something like-minded or polyamory. They are here looking for online flirtation, for something exciting, for someone with a mutual feeling. They are students, married people, singles, office workers, tradespeople, entrepreneurs, retirees, and everyone in between. Rooted in desire. Again, this is the live Ashley Madison website right now. Relationships are a nuanced topic, and everyone has different reasons for joining a dating site like Ashley Madison. Our members are united in a desire to seek out real, discrete connections, and Ashley Madison gives you a platform to search for what's missing. The first married dating website. Our story. A place free of judgment. Ashley Madison revolves around the idea of consenting adults should be able to do whatever they want in private. And now here's all these female members, right? Which again, you can guess they're probably fake. Female in her 50s. Since meeting someone on Ashley Madison and reinvigorating the sexual part of my romantic life, I'm a better wife now than I ever was. She's a better wife after having an affair on her husband. Now she's sexually satisfied. Here's a female in her 20s. I joined Ashley Madison and found the fulfillment I needed to return to my husband as a satisfied partner. It's completely removed the anxiety from our marriage. Here's another one. Connecting with a man of a different culture or someone taller or much older, something that my husband will never be. It's all okay. So you see the general premise here is that, oh, well, I'm not sexually satisfied. I need to have an affair. My partner isn't satisfying me, or I'm a better wife when I'm sexually satisfied. This is all degeneracy. Now, before we go into more, again, we're going to dive into interviews and some of the more about Noel Biederman. I mean, the absolute dirtball that's kind of disgraced. Now, I want to give you my 6 main takeaways of the documentary. And so I want to begin with number 1, Ashley Madison is evil. It's an evil website. It has evil intentions. Anybody who condones the idea that this should be something made in our society or be allowable in our society is conducive to this sort of relativistic moral structure that's taken over the West. Ashley Madison tried to operate in Singapore, and Singapore shut it down, saying that Ashley Madison basically has no business operating in Singapore because what they promote is contrary to the ideals of family and marriage, which is true. And so it's unfortunate that in Western nations, and especially the United States, Canada, and Europe, and parts of the Philippines and such like that, we're the primary user base. But it's a symptom of the hedonistic self-worship of Western culture. The company was, as we already said, totally built on lies and deception. And it's kind of ironic that the people who joined this website to also be deceptive, lie, and hold dark secrets over their partners were betrayed, and all this stuff came to light. And that those seeking to deceive were actually the ones who were deceived by Ashley Madison. And their whole marketing campaign, Ashley Madison, as we'll see, I'm going to play some of their commercials on YouTube, is that as long as you don't get caught, well, it's totally permissible. It's totally okay. There's nothing wrong with an affair if it makes you feel more invigorated and satisfied, or gives you more happiness, right? The whole thing's about pleasure and happiness. And a society that orients itself around pleasure and happiness is a society that's already dying. Because as we've talked before, struggle and suffering is essential to the Christian life. And suffering and struggle is actually what helps us grow and become stronger. And a society that is only fixated on the pursuit of their own self-pleasure is a society that is leading to its own enslavement. That we've talked about, jokingly about the coon pods, how they're going to provide everything for you, your VR porn, sex bots, your bugs, your impossible meat, your little bitty pod where all you have are things that you rent and you own nothing. But people are going to be willingly led into this because it's going to offer them stimulation and pleasure in one way or another. And this is, I think, totally indicative, as I end my 6 points, the decline of marriage in the West is indicative of the decline of the West in general. That's my general argument. And so the second point I have in my takeaway is dark secrets eventually get exposed to the light. Like the Christian gentleman who was the professor at the seminary school, and him finding, it being made public about his affair and his account on Ashley Madison. He had so much shame built up within inside him that he is not able to confront it. And that's why he thought, even with all his knowledge as being a professor of a seminary school and all his understanding of Christianity, that he would rather kill himself than come clean about his own infidelity and his own sin. And my point here is that sunlight really is the best disinfectant, and the truth really does set you free. And I have Bible verses that we can pull up, or I've already have them pulled up. but literally talking about this. And so for the one Christian couple that was able to keep their marriage together despite what occurred, it's because of Christ. Now, again, they're Protestants. They're from Dallas, Texas. I'm not here to promote whatever theology they have, but his wife, for better or for ill, she was a great wife. From at least what's portrayed, she is basically the archetype of a traditional Christian wife. And she stood by her man and she was able to forgive. But it was only after he confessed everything that wasn't included in the Ashley Madison. He confessed everything that he had done and everything that he had been tempted by up to that point. And so whether it be occultism or sexual immorality, why do people want to keep secrets? Why do people want to keep things hidden? And I would argue that the commonality between an esoteric occult teaching or sexual infidelity or whatever secrets people have is people want to maintain secrets because of sin. And you'd say, well, Patrick, how does occultism have anything to do with sin? Well, it has to do with pride. It has to do with pride. So maybe occultism or esoteric spiritualities that are all about attaining secret gnosis for the spiritual elevation of the individual, it's prideful. It's sinful in the sense that it's about elevating oneself over other people who are still in the dark. This is what Luciferianism is. Lucifer, Lucius, the light bringer, right? According to these occult spiritual theologies, that he gives you the light while keeping other people in the dark. And this is not conducive to a Christian worldview. You know, I've said this over and over. Christianity is an exoteric spirituality. We are called to speak truth as clearly and as articulately as we can in the public sphere. We don't believe in secret teachings. The idea, again, that's the whole Gnostic tradition of the various gospels of Thomas and Judas and Mary and Philip, is that these gospels. Oh, are we back? Okay. Looked like my computer froze for a second. That these gospels believe that there's some type of secret teaching that can be given to you and that's going to elevate you further. This is evil. This is sin. And we as Christians need to become conscious of what are the things that we are hiding. And I'm not saying that every little secret you have needs to be made present to maybe your significant other or whatnot. But certainly it needs to be made apparent to God. Orthodoxy, we believe in confession. We confess our sins before Christ. And I've told you guys 1,000 times that I actually love leaving confession because I feel so much lighter. And I've never talked with somebody who takes confession and their faith seriously that doesn't feel better after confessing to the priest and to Christ. And it's not that the priest resolves us of our sins. We're not Catholics. Priests don't have that ability in the Orthodox Church. It's Christ. It's God who forgives. And the Orthodox framework, the priest is present for the confession to represent the parish. The early church, when they began to confess, people would stand up in the parish and confess their sins amongst everybody. But as the church grew and as more and more people are a part of a parish, the priest takes on the role and the representative of the parish as a whole to hear the sins. Orthodoxy, the priest does not forgive you. Christ, the Trinity, is the only thing that can forgive you, but the priest is present for your confession. And so dark secrets, I argue, kill you. It's like a cancer that spreads. And that when you hold on to these dark secrets of immorality and sin, they spread, they metastasize. They begin to affect other aspects of your life. That, you know, you may have a proclivity towards a new sin, something else, a new secret. This is what the demons want. They want to bring us into the darkness in which they exist in. And it's the image of God within us that is pure light. It's the image of God within us that is able to commune with our holy creator. And by living more righteous lives and living in the light, trying to be as truthful as possible with our partners. You know, this is one of the things that, God willing, I hope I don't violate with my soon-to-be wife, is trust, is the light, is communication, is the honesty, because that is something that is so valuable, right? Once you break the trust of somebody, it is so hard to earn that back. And even with the couple, Sam and Nia, the Christian couple, they highlight that scar has never gone away. her finding out about the sexual proclivities of her husband. Meanwhile, they have this huge YouTube channel and they're promoting Christ and God and their worship services and all this different stuff. Meanwhile, he's living a double life. That's something that scares the hell out of me. Not that I, at least currently, thank God, don't have things I need to hide, but that coming on here and talking about Christianity, like I can't tell you guys how many times if I do a stream telling people about sexual immorality and not watching pornography or not participating in your sins, the spiritual attacks I get are significant. I've talked with my priest about this. I've talked with multiple priests about this. And again, this is just part of the spiritual warfare. When you publicly try to do what's right, be aware that also the demons are going to come to try to tempt you and attack you. And when you're out there and you have, like Sam and Nia have a prominent YouTube channel promoting Christ and family, and you're living that double life, it's only going to come back to bite you. And you got to be honest with the people closest to you. And that's why the relationship we have with Christ and that integrity and that honesty needs to be reflected with our spouses. My third takeaway of the docuseries is, what's the point of marriage, right? So we saw Evan back. He has a 23-year marriage with his life partner, another man. If you remember that the African-American woman in the trailer to the docuseries, she's the one that's a dominatrix. She's married to a white man who has I guess maybe you can call it a fetish for black women. And so his whole thing is about finding black women to bring back to sleep with. Is that a marriage? Is that a marriage when you have an open marriage and two people are, I guess, legally married to each other? They talk about how they're each other's best friends. They can't imagine living life without it. And yet she's a dominatrix who literally in the docuseries is described as pegging other men. And I don't, if you guys don't know what that means, check the live chat. I'm sure people in the live chat knows what that means. But she's literally engaging in sex with other men for money. He's bringing back other women to the house to sleep with, and not necessarily with her, but she's okay with it. Is that the point of marriage, to have a sort of civil arrangement with somebody where you guys go out and do all your fantasies and wild sexual kinks with other people, and you just kind of come home and have dinner and everything's good? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And so marriage is a sacramental union. Again, if you're Christian, and I know some people listening to this stream who's not Christian be like, what? Marriage is a contract with the state. Marriage is something that you can choose to be with. Marriage and monogamy is a personal choice. And okay, that's your opinion. But for me as a Christian, this isn't just a sort of cultural construction. This is the arrangement that God decreed for men and women, that the woman is the helper of Adam. Eve is the helper. Your wife is a helper. The man needs to be a leader. The man needs to be a provider, a protector, somebody who's pursuing Christ and leading the family towards salvation. This is a sacramental union for the attainment of eternal salvation. We've talked about in Orthodoxy, there's two paths, the marriage path and the monastic path, both of which there's a marriage. The monastic is married to Christ. The monastic is married to God. He has a lifelong devotion and service to God in the church. The lay person who gets married has a lifelong service and devotion towards the spouse. In Orthodoxy, when you get married, we literally make statements that my body is now your body is now my body. And certainly sexual satisfaction is an important part, or at least sexual intimacy is an important part of all marriages. Especially if you're younger. I know when people get older, their sexual appetites go away. That's totally fine. That's normal. But, being in a relationship too, where sex is held out as like a reward or a mechanism to get the other person to do what you want to do, that's not the arrangement. And from a Christian perspective, I don't own my own body anymore. The spouse does, and I own their body. And together we become a full union, a united flesh. And so the family, marriage is a life of devotional service and self-sacrifice. There is no self-sacrifice in marriage when you get to basically do anything and everything that you want, but you get to come home and the person's there. You can I guess, again, the one in the docuseries, they literally talk about their sexual activities with other people together. Very, very strange. But I don't see a whole lot of self-sacrifice. And interestingly enough, that couple had no children. Has no children. What's the point of marriage? It's family. It's family. It's having a progeny. It's having a lineage. It's having children. It's having more people. That's what God commissions. Procreation, life itself comes from God. It's the ultimate gift. And of course, sex, and we see as the decline in marriage, people, even when they are married, are having less and less children. This is indicative of the lack of self-sacrifice, the lack of commitment, and the intentional self-worship that people think is what's beneficial and makes them happier and more fulfilled people. No, it doesn't. Pursuing my own pleasures and my own hedonism does not make me more satisfied and does not make me a better person. I can't think of how me getting everything I wanted and making me feel as happy as I could be makes me a better person. It stunts my own growth. And that's what we see. And and marriage is the nuclear foundation of society. If you can't commit to a person that you love, how are you going to commit to other people? How are you going to have commitment to your friends, the church, the state, the nation? You're not. You're not. And so as marriage erodes, the entire foundational nucleus of society, meaning marriage and family, erodes as well. And I don't know many people outside of abusive situations where their parents got divorced and that was beneficial for the children. Now, I'm very lucky and thankful that my parents never got divorced. But many friends of mine, especially growing up, their parents did get divorced. And I don't know of any situation in which that was beneficial for them. And so, again, the purpose of marriage isn't always about our own pleasure. It's about something bigger. It's about something more expansive. It's really about something transcendent, your own salvation. And so providing stability and commitment for the children is part of what marriage is. And of course, people aren't having children, people aren't committing, and there is no stability in our society. And so as the sacredness of marriage has declined, as I said, so has Western civilization. And so sites like Ashley Madison and the fact that that's condoned in our society and that it had 37 million users at the time is just indicative of the symptom of Western civilization and why it's dying before our eyes. My next point number 4 on my takeaways of the docuseries was, what is justice? This comes up in the docuseries, especially in episode 3, when it's talking about the hack, the release of the data, and the impact this had on so many people. The spike in divorces right after the information was made public. And so people started to make websites. Once all this data was released, they would make websites with search bars. And so you could put in the first and last name or a website address, email address, and you could search a data bank and it would let you know if that was in the Ashley Madison leak. And so the hackers, the impact team, which again, nobody still knows who this group was, but they clearly had a vendetta against Noel Biederman. They hated the CEO of Ashley Madison and they wanted to expose him at all cost. And I think the docuseries kind of hints that the Jewish CEO, Noel Biederman, they knew that he wasn't going to shut down the site because he loved nothing more than more money. And because he wanted to make the Ashley Madison public, he wasn't going to shut it down because that would then mean that millions and millions of dollars he was potentially able to earn was going to go away. So they thought, the impact team, that the site was deceptive and immoral, which it was. We know that for a fact. And they threatened to release the data if Ashley Madison did not shut down their website within 30 days, which we know they did not. And I just showed you that the website's still up and running. The release may have been responsible for multiple suicides. We know for sure in one case with the Christian professor down in New Orleans that his suicide was directly related to the fact that he had to resign earlier that day because his colleagues were made aware of the fact that his name was on the list and that he was having an affair on his wife. And they lived in a very, very tight-knit Christian community in Louisiana. And so this is incredibly detrimental to his reputation. But the docuseries kind of insinuates that the impact team is responsible for this suicide. And the Toronto police also explicitly stated that they wanted to prosecute the impact team because of the harm that it caused to everybody who was on the list. And these were people that were all over the world. But I ask you, and I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are. Feel free to, chime in and let me know what your guys' thoughts are. But would you hold the impact team responsible? Do you think the impact team was responsible for the suicides and the failed marriages that occurred to the release of the data? Was this a violation of privacy? My initial tendency is to say no, that these people were in marriages. They volunteered to sign up. They put money on the account. They spent thousands of dollars to message women or women message men. And the fact that it got released publicly in a way is poetic. But I was also thinking about a recent conversation I had with somebody concerning, red pilling family members or friends or people that and how, it's really difficult to open up. We're talking about conspiracy theories. And this was actually our private members group, our think tank this past Wednesday. We were discussing various conspiracy theories and conversations you have with family and friends. And we were talking about how you can't just, if somebody's at point A, you just can't go to the end point of the conspiracy and start shoving it down their throat because it doesn't make sense. They haven't made the logical connections. And that we were talking about, in a way, it's sinful. In a way, it's sinful to try to force the truth that many of us are aware of. Could be the jabs, the 2020 or whatever it may be, to force that on somebody when they're not ready to handle it. And I started thinking, well, is this a similar situation? And I'm still inclined to say no, because this is adultery. These are people that are participating in infidelity in a marriage in which they know they shouldn't be doing it. And that's why they were so upset when the information was released. But I'll leave that up to you guys, whether you think, whether you hold the impact team responsible or not. I personally don't. The docuseries kind of insinuates that many people do. But in a way, I think it's poetic justice. And this impact team, this hacker group, never was responsible for another attack. This is one of the anomalies about it, is the Toronto police talked about how typically when a hacker group hacks information, first, they usually want to sell it on the dark web for money. This group had no intention of making money. They just wanted the website to stop. The other one was that usually a hacker group you can trace back to various other projects they were responsible for, or they have a particular mission statement in which they hack multiple different locations regarding their particular mission statement. This was not that case. Their only mission statement was to shut down Ashley Madison, of which unfortunately they failed. So it could have been a Christian group. I know the docuseries and Evan Back, the homosexual vice president of sales, he believed it was like Christian fundamentalists who did it. Some people speculated that maybe it was a spouse who found out that their wife or husband was on the website. Others think that maybe it was religious groups from around the world that were upset with it. Nobody really knows who the impact team was. And many people speculate it was a single person. Because the Toronto police actually offered $500,000 to anybody who could hack or identify the impact team, of which not a single lead did they get. And this led to the Toronto police to believe that it was a single individual, because when they offer $500,000 for somebody, usually if it's a hacker group, because often even the hackers within a hacker group don't personally know each other, that they will turn on the group and sell the group out for a lump sum, which didn't happen. So many people speculate that the impact team could have been just a single individual, but who knows? But I'm curious whether you guys hold them responsible for the deaths of anybody or the failed marriages. I can't find that within myself to hold them responsible. The fifth point that I have, or my takeaway, is and this is the big one, is the dangers of sexual fantasy. One of the things that is replete throughout the docuseries in episodes 1, 2, and 3 is people being infatuated with their sexual fantasies. So just like Sam Reeder, who lived in it, I mean, from all intents and purposes, nobody knows the intricacies of each individual, but he had the perfect life. He was a ER nurse. He had a beautiful Christian wife who was devoted to him, a stay-at-home mother, raised multiple children, did everything that he would want her to do. And yet he had these sexual ideas, these fantasies that reoccurred over and over in his mind. And this eventually led him to signing up to the website. And so I just want to bring from a Christian perspective, especially an Orthodox perspective, is the reality of the logismy, right? The demonic attacks. The battlefield is in your imagination. The church fathers are explicit about this, that where do demons attack you? They attack you through the imagination. And so we have to be cautious of what it is that we fantasize and imagine about throughout the day. What is it that stimulates us? What is it that we think about over and over? And if we're going to be honest with ourselves, I would speculate that for some of us, it's sin. There's something that is a fantasy. There's something that is idealized. There's something that makes us feel like, oh, that would be so exciting. That would be so fulfilling. And often it is to the degradation of the real world around you. You see, there is a dichotomy between the fantasy world, which, again, the demons are attacking us. And I would argue that much of society is moving towards, and I'll make that point in just a second, and the real world around you. Sam Reeder was living in the real world, and he had everything a Christian man could want. Yet because he was so inundated with his own fantasies and his imaginative states, he was willing to sacrifice and undermine everything that he had. And so the more you engage in fantasy, the closer it comes to reality. And that's what the demons want. They want us to have these dark fantasies, these dark fetishes, these mental images that we think about over and over again, because the more you think about it, the more likely you are to act on it. If you fantasize about a particular scenario, say you're a married man and you fantasize about a particular woman, and you do this over and over, and yet you're in a healthy, happy marriage, and a situation emerges where somebody fits this fantasy archetype you have, do you realize how much closer you are to saying yes because of your voluntary imaginings and fantasies about it? This is something that we have to watch out for as Christians, for our own spiritual safety, for our own spiritual lives. That culture is trying to ensnare us into these fantasies, whether it be like WAP with Cardi B or all the sexual stuff in our society, the music videos, the rap culture, everything on TV. It's selling you a fantasy. Social media is selling us a fantasy and wants you to live in a fantasy world, because the fantasy world is the coon pod world. Because in reality, you live in a little bitty box. In a reality, you're watching VR porn. In a reality, you're eating bugs and synthetic food. In reality, you own nothing. And yet you're happy? How? How could somebody be happy in that situation? It's because they don't live in reality. They live in a fantasy. And when you look at our culture, whether it be the gaming community, and in a sense, this is a sort of fantasy outlet. Now, I'm not against all video games. I'm not. People have tried to put that on me. I'm not against all video games. But what I do want to say is that the gaming avatar culture of online communication is a way in which people become more and more infatuated with the fantasy. How many guys build these characters or these avatars online where they're big, strong, masculine, competent men, and then in real life, they're overweight, low T, unsuccessful guys. And it's like, well, what are you devoting your energy towards? You've spent 2 years acquiring all the credits and points and statuses, and you've beat the game, but what did you win in the end? Not much. Not much. It's a satisfaction of accomplishment that's built on the accomplishing in a sense of a fantasy. But this is true with the LGBTQ stuff and the recognition that a biological man can give birth or can have periods or is a woman. This is a breakdown in our categories to perceive reality. This is society. This is our Western satanic culture trying to get us to believe in a fantasy that women and men are indispensable and they can exchange parts and pieces and they can become the opposite. No, they can't. That's not how reality works. And transhumanism is another fantasy, right? So this is something that I write about, but all this technology is still theoretical. You know, the idea that an AI system can become sentient, this is all theoretical. This isn't built on reality. But when we look at social media and young women, we've talked about the problems with dating in the world now. Well, women are just as guilty of living in these fantasies. I mean, look at the sexual novels, right? So there's been multiple studies on female novels, these sex novels, and how it's always, you know, like a big, strong man and rape, criminal partners. Like, this is stuff that women fantasize about. And women, I would say, because of social media, are part and parcel of this fantasizing process of posting selfies, making their lives look better. And men do this too, but it's predominantly women. They make the appearance of this fantastic, perfect life online. And yet in reality, they're empty, hollow people that have nothing to offer because they never work on themselves. They work on an image. And so our culture is so focused on the image, the thing that the appearance, the superficial level, it's left so many people lost in a fantasy world where they don't even have contact with the real world. And so that's how you talk with people. And that's, again, media, propaganda. 2020 highlighted that. There's a vast amount of people in our country and in the world that have no critical thinking skills and are not connected with reality, but live in a fantasy, in a narrative, in a story about how the world works. And this is why we need to guard as men, particularly because we're very visual in our sexual attraction. We need to guard our eyes and our noose, because the eyes are openings into the world. And of course, our culture is so degenerate that there's sex everywhere that's constantly tempting us and trying us to engage in these sexual fantasies. And the noose, our noetic faculties, we have to be conscious of what it is that you and I fantasize about. What are our imaginations about? Is it about family? Is it about goals? Is it about things that are in the real world, things that contribute to other people? Or do we spend a lot of time in our day fantasizing about sexual scenarios, about get revenge, getting back at people, doing things that maybe we wouldn't actually want to tell somebody? We have to be conscious of that, because if we want to guard ourselves in this degenerate world, we have to watch and protect our eyes and our noose. And then my sixth and final takeaway from the docuseries is, are men the idealistic ones? So this is getting into the fantasy thing. You know, the entire business model of Ashley Madison is creating the ideal male fantasy. The male fantasy that he can have multiple sexual partners, that he can cheat on his wife, that he can choose the exact type of girl that he wants, that they can meet. It'll all be secret. Nobody will find out. And he'll be able to have a really exciting and pleasurable sexual life. And this is all tied to these fantasies. And so we talked about how the majority of the women on Ashley Madison were bots. They were either done by AI or, as the article highlighted, some of them were actually employees in Ashley Madison that would be behind these fake accounts, sending sexual, like sexting men and creating these fantasies. And the men then are dishing out the dough and spending thousands and thousands of dollars to send messages. What? Many of these men never even met anybody in public. What were they paying thousands of dollars for? They're paying thousands of dollars for a sexual fantasy. And so I ask, in the manosphere and stuff, they always talk about how women, are the idealized relationship type. So because of Disney and all this stuff, the princess fairy tales, the happy ever after, romantic scenarios, that women are the idealistic ones. Women are the ones that sort of idealize what a relationship and everything and monogamy and how it's supposed to work. Prince Charming. And maybe that's true to a degree. And maybe women do idealize the happy ever after and the sort of Disney fairy tale type relationship. But after watching this documentary, it's hard not to say that men are also susceptible to fantasy, but it seems in particular sexual fantasy. So men are pretty realistic when it comes to work, when it comes to money, when it comes to politics, when it comes to society. But when I sat and reflected on it, I think maybe men are the idealizing ones when it comes to sexual experience, sexual pleasure, and sexual fetishes. To me, that kind of makes sense. That men are the ones that paid all this money to have these conversations with bots. Men are the ones that, even with your guys, joking about threesomes and stuff like that. Men really do idolize and idealize like extreme sexual experiences quite a bit, or with particular types of people or a particular type. And so I just throw this out there because I haven't really heard many people speak about it as something that needs to be addressed. But if we're Christians, and that's the point, and I was reflecting on it, it's like we as men need to be really careful about sexual fantasies, because this is from the devil, and this is only going to lead towards a trap. And if we fall victim to our own sexual fantasies, again, the more we imagine it, the more we fantasize about it, the closer it is it's going to come to a reality. And that's something that you can never go back on. And so when you make a commitment to your spouse, when you do get married, make that a serious commitment, and be careful of what it is that you fantasize about. Because if there's any major takeaway from this docuseries on Ashley Madison, the biggest takeaway is that men love to fantasize sexual excitement, and men will go and spend extensive amounts of money for that excitement. And the same thing's true with strip clubs and, sexual offerings, prostitution, whatever it may be. So be careful, because if you're not careful, it may sneak up on you, and it may become a reality. Something that you thought was just fun fantasy, maybe something that you engage in reality, and you'll feel shame and you'll never be able to go back on that. So those are my 6 main takeaways from the Ashley Madison docuseries. And with that, I want to dive a little bit more into some of the stuff that we were discussing. So, I have a few verses pulled up. I just pulled up on, what does the Bible say about adultery? And so here's just a few verses. 1 Corinthians 6:18, flee from sexual immorality. All other sins a person commits are outside the body, but whoever sins sexually sins against their own body. Exodus, again, the 7th commandment, you shall not commit adultery. It's a big one, guys. Adultery is not a sort of lighthearted sin as a Christian. This is a serious one. Again, because the way that we understand marriage is very different. We're not Muslims, right? You don't get 4 wives. We're not enticed by, again, sexual pleasure or sexual fantasy of 72 virgins, and therefore you can go commit a terrorist act. That's not us. Marriage is between one woman and one man. And we make that commitment, and we take that seriously because it's part of the ways in which we find salvation and self-sacrifice. Hebrews 13:4, marriage should be honored by all, and the marriage bed kept pure, for God will judge the adulterer and all the sexually immoral. James 4:17, if anyone then knows the good, they ought do it, and doesn't do it, it is a sin for them. Jeremiah 13:27, your adulteries and lustful denyings are your shameless prostitution. I have seen your detestable acts on the hills and in the fields. Woe to you, Jerusalem! How long will you be unclean? I confess our sins. He is faithful and just and will forgive us our sins and purify us from all righteousness. And so let me just say, if you have a deep, dark secret out there and you're watching this stream and maybe you're feeling convicted right now, maybe it's time to make that call to your priest. If you're Orthodox, if you're not, maybe it's time to visit an Orthodox church and do a confession. Maybe it's time to come clean. If somebody's watching this and they feel convicted, that's your conscience. Luke 16:18, anyone who divorces his wife and marries another woman commits adultery, and the man who marries a divorced woman commits adultery. Here's Jesus explicitly, Matthew 19:9. I tell you that anyone who divorces his wife except for sexual immorality and marries another woman commits adultery, except for sexual immorality. Christ made explicit how important sexual fidelity is in a marriage. That sexual immorality and adulteries, the only out that Christ explicitly states for divorce, explicitly states it's adultery. Proverbs 6:32, but a man who commits adultery has no sense. Whoever does so destroys himself. Romans 7:2-3. For example, by law, a married woman is bound to her husband as long as he is alive. But if her husband dies, she is released from the law that binds her to him. So then if she has sexual relations with another man while her husband is still alive, she is called an adulteress. But if her husband dies, she is released from that law and is not an adulteress if she marries another man. Mark 10:11-12, he answered, anyone who divorces his wife and marries another woman commits adultery against her. So anyways, I'll share this link here in the chat. If anybody wants to read more about these, feel free. You can see it. It has multiple Bible verses to get into. So anyways, here's the Jewish CEO who was the absolute worst that we've already talked about. Of course, he's a native of Toronto, Canada. Yeah, you get it. So he is a Canadian internet entrepreneur and business marketing specialist. Biderman was occupied roles as corporate president, CEO, and COO of the International Lead for Businesses that have operated in 58 countries. He is the former CEO of Avid Life Media and was the chief executive of parent company Ashley Madison. Now, Avid Life Media, that's who owns Ashley Madison. And isn't it so interesting? Avid Life, and what they do is they own companies like, let's see if, so here it is, Avid Life Media. I was looking it up. Most notable brands, Ashley Madison, so Avid Life, pro-life, Avid for life. Avid Life Media owns an adultery website and a cougarlife.com, which is a site for connects older women with younger men. So again, a fulfilling of another sexual fantasy here. So this group is another degenerate group who owns these companies. Just wanted to highlight that. So Biderman, I wanted to get into some of his interviews. So here is Biderman again promoting infidelity. We're going to watch a few of these, but this is the CEO who went around with his wife talking about how, oh, I'm monogamous, I'd never cheat. Meanwhile, he was, purchasing escorts every other week. And this is him on Dr. Phil 11 years ago before the hack.
Okay, so you say this is just an honest site and it's doing the country a service.
Absolutely. You have a great platform. It's a communication-driven platform. You teach people how to communicate better, but that doesn't work for everybody. Some people need an intimacy platform, and so that's what we built with Ashley Madison.
An intimacy platform.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You said that
an intimacy platform that's good for marriage is what he says, and I believe his wife's right next to him.
Ashley Madison doesn't promote infidelity.
Of course, you can't promote infidelity. If I could do that, then every corporation in America should come running to me, because if I can convince happy people to have affairs on their partners, then I can convince people to do anything.
You say, hey, if there wasn't a demand, I wouldn't exist, right? You say, we wouldn't exist if it wasn't a demand. And it's a free country, and I get it. I get your right to have this website and be out there. What I don't get is why you bother to be pious about it. Because you say, I'm not promoting, let me tell you what you say. You say, I'm not promoting infidelity. A headline on your homepage is, life is short, have an affair. A blog on Ashley Madison gives tips on cheating. A blog on the homepage, just a few of these, search for married people in your area. Breaking news, the top 10 mistress cities. Successful married dating tips. That's not, come on.
If you look at every society on the planet, affairs happen. And so if Ashley Madison didn't exist, do you think you'd stop a single affair from happening? Of course not. They would continue to happen on singles dating sites or in the workplace where there's collateral damage.
That's like saying that.
But see, so his argument is, well, 30% of people, according to one study on dating sites, are married. So therefore, I should create a platform. And again, meanwhile, what he's not telling, and people didn't know at this time, this is before the hack that occurred in 2015, that he was actually, the whole website was deceptive. Again, selling services that they weren't doing. I mentioned earlier that people would pay $20 extra when they wanted to end their Ashley Madison account. It said for $20, we'll delete your entire account. There'll be no trace that you're ever on the website. Something that they weren't doing. And in fact, in the docuseries, it reveals that Biederman was laughing that, of course, we don't delete. This was part of his personal emails that were released in 2015. It was like, of course, we don't delete the accounts. We keep all their payment information on record, and we keep all their messages and everything that they've ever said. And he was bragging that they were making millions of dollars from people paying $20 extra to get their account deleted, which he thought was funny because they weren't doing it.
Saying a heroin dealer wouldn't exist if people didn't use heroin.
That's not a fair analogy. It's not a fair analogy.
Sure, it's a fair analogy. You can't say that because of supply and demand that justifies the supply.
You can say that this is a behavior pattern that we've seen since time immemorial. I would prefer to see it happen in a community of like-minded adults where everybody knows what they're getting into than to pose as a single person or to go and have it in the workplace. That's not good for society.
And you're one of these like-minded adults that you're talking about, right?
Well,
Okay, that's not his wife.
I believe honesty is very difficult. It's scary. A lot of people don't want to deal with it, but I'm very thankful for Ashley Madison because it's actually helped me understand relationships better, men better.
You say you love being with married men.
I love men, period. But I'd rather be with the man who's upfront and being honest with themselves because I like being with honest people.
I wonder if she knows that adultery as a sin is also, if you have an affair with the person who's married, say you're not married, say you're single, that is still adultery. And within our worldview, you're still guilty. But I want to play a few more of these where he goes around. Let's see. Where he goes around defending Ashley Madison. Oh, here's the one with his wife. This is a good one. We'll watch this one. Before we do, I want to give a special thank you to David Atlas. Sends in the first super chat today over on Dono Chat. Sends in $10. Thank you very much, David Atlas. Again, if you guys would like to support my work, feel free to send in a super chat on Dono Chat, Streamlabs, or YouTube. And if you're really feeling generous, gift some COTEL Crew memberships over here on YouTube. He says, excellent stream as usual, DPH. Thank you and God bless, brother. Well, thank you very much, David Atlas. I'm glad you appreciate today's stream. I thought it was an interesting topic to discuss. Oh, and we got another one. Foregone throws in $10. Says, DPH, a good example of what happens when fathers do not control impulses is Nick Rakita, lawyer, #1 super chat earner in the U.S., father of 5, lost it all by opening his marriage. Oh, I was not familiar with that. I've heard the name Nick Rakita from the YouTube channel. When was it? It was like a couple years ago, 2 or 3 or 4 years ago. There was a major lawsuit and everybody was covering it on YouTube and stuff. I can't remember which one it was, but he was one of the top YouTubers. I did not know he was #1 super chat earner in the US, father of 5. And he lost it by opening his marriage. I did not know that. Thank you very much for sharing, Foregone. I have not. I believe can put a face to Nick Rakita from watching those interviews or from watching the law streams. When was that? That was a few years ago. Somebody may remember. Foregone added that he was just arrested on child neglect and having 25 grams of coke. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, the dude threw his whole life away. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Let that be a lesson learned from all of us. Yeah, Inu said, yeah, he's into cocaine and alcohol as well. Yeah, that's why, guys, as men, we just have to be conscious of our temptations of things that are going to detract us, right? That's what the evil one wants, is to break up the families. We, unlike Adam, have to keep our focus on God and do the best that we can to stay in that light, to stay in that truth. Remember, sunlight is the best disinfectant, and Christ is the light. He is the life. So anyways, thank you guys. Again, if you want to show any support or send in a comment, feel free to super chat. Let's watch this The View interview. This is the one where Noel Biederman brings his wife on to talk about how wonderful their monogamous marriage is, despite him being labeled online as the king of infidelity. Turns out, of course, he was the king of infidelity.
So Since 2002, the website Ashley Madison gives married people who want to cheat on their spouses the ability to just point and click their way to an extramarital affair. And the co-founder and CEO and his wife are here to tell us why they say they're actually offering a public service that can help save marriages. Please welcome Noel and Amanda Biederman. Welcome. Noel, you were actually a real-life hot topic with us back in 2009, and today the website ashleymadison.com has 17 million clients. Now, is it true it's a $90 million business?
Yeah, it's accurate. We've probably tripled our business since you and I spoke, a number of years back.
Okay, so how is that? Why is the success rate so high? How does it actually work? How do you make money?
I think the success rate is foundationally based on female infidelity. I think men have always had their outlets, universal outlets. I think the internet is changing how women are pursuing unfaithfulness, and Ashley Madison's at the forefront of that.
But when somebody signs on, many houses just have one computer or whatever. Just does the cheating partner and the other one know about it, or is it?
No, this is all about discretion.
This is all secret.
It's all being driven by mobile devices. iPhones are one of our, 40% of our female traffic comes from people using their iPhone, or people use their work computer. So they're not doing it on the couch beside their partner. They tend to do it in a discreet room.
Now, you two have been married for 10 years?
10 years,
is that true? But I understand that you disagree on whether this really helps. And you say that this keeps a marriage stronger.
Now, again, just for clarification, according to the Wikipedia, Biederman is Jewish and his wife Amanda is as well. Biederman married Amanda in 2003, and the couple have 2 children. Amanda is originally from South Africa and has a background in marketing. Prior to the hack, Biederman mentioned he is a happily married father of 2 and does not himself cheat. Although we know the fact that he did through the emails leaked during the hack that Biederman carried on several extramarital affairs over the course of his marriage. And we'll get into where Biederman is now in just a second.
That one or the other can, cheat. And you say, no, it's destructive. Give us your points of view.
Well, cheating is destructive in a relationship, absolutely devastating. But we have found over the years, there are situations where it has helped convince somebody to stay with somebody or help somebody have an outlet where they needed it and they can be happy in their lives.
In general, you're against it.
In general, it's a destructive thing, and I hope that, and I have traditional values, and I live in a traditional situation with Noel, and we.
You don't. You have a monogamous relationship.
Yes, absolutely, and I would be devastated if he did it to me, but I would not.
I love how his eyes are looking down here, looking back at this, knowing that this dude was sleeping with escorts about every week and was having affairs with people that worked at Ashley Madison. I love when she says, when the interviewer asks, "Oh, so you guys are monogamous?" He looks down and says, "Correct." And she looks at the woman and says, "Yes." You can already see the guilt in this man.
Blame a website. Ashley Madison is not creating cheaters. It is servicing a need that is there, that exists, and unfortunately it exists. It's sad, but
no, you think it actually helps marriages?
I think it helps people with an alternative to divorce. Yes, I do think a lot of people look at their lives and say, I didn't sign up to be a nun. I wasn't interested in the priesthood. Celibacy doesn't work for me. And so they find themselves in a sexless marriage. They're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. And for many, infidelity becomes that life preserver. It allows them to stay within the marriage and focus on raising kids together while pursuing something on the side.
Is that an honest marriage, though, right? Because this is not an open marriage. So I guess I would ask the question, because I tend to turn to a resource. I'm reading a book that's actually coming out in May called The Marriage App by Dr. Friesen and his wife, but where I think it provides long-term help. I have yet to see a headline that says, side effect of infidelity in a marriage. New study says it creates peace and happiness within the existing marriage.
Well, you say that. We can look to what's almost American royalty and Bill and Hillary Clinton with very public infidelity. They survived it. She learned to forgive him. Whatever that went on between the two of them, and they are a quintessential couple that we all regard in high esteem, or most of us regard in high esteem. So I don't think that's.
Imagine using Bill and Hillary Clinton as the ideal marriage. I mean, allegedly. So we know that the Clintons were on the Epstein flight logs. We know that Bill was one of the most prominent friends and writers of Lolita Express. And according to things on the internet that have been attempted to be scrubbed, Hillary Clinton has a bit of a lesbian fetish. So seems like that'd probably be the last couple you would want to hold up as an ideal relationship.
Regard that as a very sad part of their life. They don't say, wasn't this terrific? It really helped their marriage.
But you have to have a sad part of your life that you can use as a launching pad to something more productive.
Are you just introducing them so they can communicate on the internet or something? Or are you actually introducing them physically?
No, it's all about communication on the internet.
You're not actually saying to these two people, meet Thursday at 3 and have a little going on.
No.
It's a communication platform. You self-publish who you are.
It's all talk.
What brought you to an affair. And even there, there are so many people who sign up to Ashley Madison, send one message and never come back to their profile again. So they dipped their toe in and found out it wasn't for them. And so even in that regard, it was when you could sit there and say, hey, maybe they will introduce themselves to one another.
We have a couple more questions, including, even though you're against the idea of infidelity, why, Amanda, you were actually the face of Ashley Madison. More with Noel and Amanda when we come back. The website. We are back talking with Noel Biederman, the co-founder and CEO of AshleyMadison.com, the website for married people who want to have an affair, and his wife, Amanda. Amanda, we were talking before the break about, though you don't believe that infidelity is a good thing ultimately, you are involved with this company. You weren't in the beginning, but you're now the face of the advertising for it, which I guess leads me to the question, and there you are. So if you thought smoking was bad.
So again, while Noel was actually having multiple affairs on his wife, of which he was going around publicly promoting the idea he was in a monogamous relationship, he used his wife, who thought that they were in a monogamous relationship, to say, your wife is hot, but so are ours. Ashley Madison, life is short, have an affair. And he used his own wife as the billboard model for Ashley Madison. This dude is such a dirtball.
Bad for you, would you appear on a billboard that promotes smoking? So where was the shift for you in terms of supporting it?
It's a business. I think if you polled the audience, everybody's going to say they disagree with it, with the cheating. I mean, people don't do it and don't believe in it. So, having myself up there, in my mind, it's going to spawn on some conversations amongst married people who don't even talk about this issue. This issue is such a prevalent issue going on in our society, and nobody wants to address it. How about if a happily married man and woman see this advertising and start talking about how they feel about it? And maybe they won't lead down that path.
Yeah,
it will help them.
for that reason.
I just want everyone to see how pretty my wife was.
Yeah. But then also, and you're very gorgeous. But if we personalize it, because you are traditionalist, like you said, if your husband was cheating on you, would you be okay with him going to a site such as yours, with him saying, I think it will help the marriage?
Absolutely not. That's not what I signed up for. That's not what
You don't practice what you preach.
No. For me, for my personal, I choose, just like anybody out there chooses. Everybody has a choice in life, which path they want to take. I don't live in a society where I want it to be censored for me. This is a choice. This is a business, and people are doing it. All I'm saying is, if you bring the conversation front and center, more front and center, then maybe it's not as big. It can be broken down, and you can know how to address it.
This is not about a conversation. This is about making money. Clearly, it's a $90 million business here, right?
You do not practice what you're preaching.
Right.
But I want to just show a couple of the ads too that you have, because they are somewhat political. This is one that features Newt Gingrich. It says, unfaithful husband. Welcome to Ashley Madison. Can you see that?
Yeah, we see.
Newt Gingrich. I'm sure that he's very happy to see this ad on the billboards. And now here's another one. This is Mitt Romney. If cheating on your taxes is okay, so is Ashley Madison. And then underneath it says, life is short, have an affair. Catchy.
Well, listen, I think when we are not afforded the same marketing opportunities that say that Match.com is, or really alcohol companies are afforded. We can't advertise on NFL football games. We might want to be there, but they won't allow us to. So when we advertise, we try to make the most of our opportunities.
Look, I think when there's a will, there's a way. I think cloaking it in terms of marriage help is a little bit of a reach, but we want to thank Noel and Amanda Biederman. Have a great day, everyone. Take a little.
And so I want to pull up one more interview of his just to show you how explicit he was about defending Ashley Madison on these interviews. Let's see here. Where's a good one? I think this one might be one. Let me see.
At listenuptv.com,
she's the one at home who's always gonna.
we went to ask why would they engage in such a business.
Here we go.
When you walk into Ashley Madison, you'll notice that despite their huge image in public advertising, there is no signage or suggestive imagery anywhere at.
Before we dive into this video, because I got a handful more we want to get into, I want to give a special thank you to a few super chatters. Wyo Coaster throws in $5 over on Streamlabs. Thank you very much, brother. He said, reminds me of something I heard on Orthodox Ethos channel about the needle, the blanket, and the bell, and how the devil uses the needle to pierce our thoughts. Absolutely true. With a pernicious, sinful idea. Then promises a blanket to cover us and hide the sin, but then rings the bell so all can see it. Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. And that's what the devil's always trying to do. Great comment and super chat, Wild Coaster. Thank you, or Wildcaster. Thank you very much. And then over on the Dono chat, we had a generous $20 super chat by an anonymous donator who said, thank you for the work you do. Well, thank you very much, anonymous donator. Really appreciate it. God bless you. And so, again, if anybody wants to show some love, feel free to send in a super chat or gift some memberships. We still got a few more things to get through before finishing this stream. So thank you all for the support.
At the office.
So, like she said, and it showed in the docuseries, there is no signage that said Ashley Madison where they worked at. Nothing that promoted the company itself, which almost insinuates that, you know, even though Noel Biederman was the face of it and did all these interviews, you know, it doesn't seem like the people that worked there were happy to necessarily be attached with the image of the company.
Desks full of people working away on computers.
Ever created. Here's 5 million.
When you meet Noel Biederman, you'd think he's just like any other hardworking father of two. The difference is that Noel has made a fortune running a website encouraging married couples to cheat on their spouses. But how would he feel if his wife signed up for ashleymadison.com?
I think I'd be devastated, but I don't think I'd blame an inanimate object.
You know, adultery didn't seem to go over so well for Tiger Woods, and we all watched that. What makes you think this is actually good for people?
I think the lesson from the Tiger Woods scandal is not so much that it went over well or not well. It's about a person who clearly has a beautiful spouse, a beautiful partner, and yet still felt the need to stray. And so we don't know what goes on in his private bedroom. We can hypothesize and speculate till the cows come home. In the end, that's something he needed to do for himself, and now he's trying to work through.
Biederman has made over $20 million on this business so far and is even trying to take it to the Toronto Stock Exchange. He also offers a money-back guarantee if you haven't had an affair in 90 days.
That's right. That's our fair to remember guarantee.
And I take it you don't have to refund a lot of money.
Virtually never.
So what are the main reasons people are cheating on their spouses?
Yeah, make no mistake about it. You can read and hear about self-help gurus talking about this reason, that reason. The primary reason men in particular stray is a lack of sex. Either
we had a question. He said, who is Ashley Madison? Is it a reference to something? No. So they talked about it in the docuseries. The reason why they named the company Ashley Madison is because those were the two most popular female names in America at the time, was Ashley and Madison. And they felt when you put it together, it added a sort of prestige. It felt more elite. It felt more upscale for the services that they were offering. And they thought that it matched really well. So Ashley Madison is just the two most popular female names in America at the time that the company was founded.
a totally sexist marriage that they found themselves in, unexpected and unbeknownst to them why this happened or why it crept onto them, or truthfully, a lack of variety in their sex lives. They're looking for something different than what they currently have. And so, you know, it's not in our DNA to be monogamous. And so if you're now into a relationship that where you're devoid of intimacy, you are going to stray, regardless of what people tell you.
And why do women stray?
And women have slightly different needs, right? So half of our service, you know, the women on there are actually single women. They're not in committed relationships. They're looking to be with other committed men. I guess their view of the world is a good man is hard to find. And if you've got one and I'll take care of him, I will. They're not interested in matrimony or long-term relationship at this point. They're looking at lifestyle. They're looking at adventure and fun.
See that again, what he's doing there is lying and selling the fantasy. Oh, well, we have all these women online, and that, you know, these men that, well, if their wife's not satisfying, then we got all these young single women who are ready to, you know, be that life partner or be that person that's going to fully fulfill and please them. Meanwhile, again, the majority were bots. But one of the things I wrote down that I hadn't mentioned yet is Noel Biederman and his conversation with Evan Back. He was the homosexual man in the trailer. That apparently they had a friendship that went back years, and that Biederman hired Back because he said that he was able to sell anything, and that even though he, you know, was a committed gay man, I guess, that he was going to be able to sell Ashley Madison and help market it. And one of the things that they said, that after the first few years where all the ads were like scantily dressed women and stuff like this, the ads were geared towards men, that they began to create ads identifying the company as being pro-feminist. And that they literally said in the documentary that we were pro-feminism. We were promoting, you know, female liberation and getting out of the patriarchal tyranny of marriage and all this different stuff, which, again, nobody would be surprised at. But I thought that was so funny that feminism was part of their marketing campaign to, quote unquote, get more women on the site. Again, didn't seem like it was very successful, but that was what they argued. So no surprise.
You actually write in your book, the subtitle of your book is that this will improve marriage. How do you prove that?
I hear it all the time. You know, we're really at Ashley Madison the greatest sociology experiment around sex, you know, ever created. Here's 5 million members self-identifying why they came to the service. Primarily, it's this absence of sex that we discussed before. And so these people do love and cherish their family relationships. They care about their partner. They love their kids, their economic situation, but they're absent intimacy. And anyone in that situation, it's like not having enough oxygen or not having enough water to drink. They're going to need to change that. And so they come on our service, they find somebody else in the same predicament, they find that cathartic outlet, and it leads them, they believe, to be better partners, better parents, better bosses, employees, because they have that stress removed.
The number one reason women in Canada are murdered is because of a jealous spouse. Have you tackled that kind of reality?
And how many people is that? 2, 3, 4? Probably a fraction of how many are killed in car accidents. Plus, it's the human condition. So you exaggerate it when you bring a subject like death to the table, but really, you know, tens of thousands of people die every month in the country for various reasons. In the end, what you're trying to say is, oh my God, adultery is a causation of death, and that's kind of a ridiculous notion.
We are going to take a look at one of your customers.
It affects so many people in so many ways. Innocent children, innocent spouses. In a lot of cases, you know, it's one married couple having an affair with another married person.
So
I'd listen up.
anyways, that's kind of enough of Noel Biederman. You get that the dude was an absolute degenerate. Now what I want to do is show you guys some of the ads of Ashley Madison, and just look how just evil and pernicious these ads are. So this is a more recent one. So this is on the Ashley Madison YouTube channel right here. And so again, not very big. They have 4.3, you know, 4,300 users. And you look at their videos, a little over 1,000 views. Is cheating an essential part of self-care? Ashley Madison wonders, is polyamorous society inevitable? A panel of sexual deviance. Oh my gosh, I need to listen to this one. But look at some of these commercials.
Why am I out of bed before everyone else? Why do I run faster than I did yesterday? Why do I drown out the voice of pain? Why do I never quit?
I just don't want to get caught.
Hey, you there!
So there's one. A woman is essentially running, and we then find out it's so that she doesn't get caught. This is one of their earlier ads. This is again posted 9 years ago, but this is one of the earlier ads of Ashley Madison. Interesting demographic choice for this whole commercial.
Other than my wife, Ashley Madison's right. I'm looking for someone other than my wife. Other than my wife. Ashley Madison's right. I'm looking for someone other than my wife. Other than my wife. Ashley Madison's right.
I just want to say, TJA94, if you don't want to watch this content, then why are you here, brother? I don't know why you keep saying, why would anybody talk about this? This is a new documentary that's going over Netflix, and probably millions of people are watching it. So this stream is about informing people of what Ashley Madison is, the leak in 2015, and everything that occurred. It's absolutely evil, but if you don't, if you think that nobody should be talking about this, then why are you here? Just leave. Not a big deal. And then this one, again, even more degenerate.
Which means my kids are going to be making.
This is their back to school Ashley Madison ad for mothers, stay-at-home mothers when their kids go back to school.
New friends and learning new skills. This gives me time to make some new friends and learn some new skills too. Raphael, show me again how you lower this.
So that's an ad that they've created post the very first one and that one are newer ads after the hack. Here's the Super Bowl ad. This was originally the one that they wanted to go into a new direction. They felt like it was too oriented towards men. And then this was one of the earlier ads. And this got rejected back when America was a little bit more wholesome, that this was supposed to be a Super Bowl ad, which got rejected by the television companies.
Jackie, is everything all right?
No. I just found out my husband's cheating on me.
Welcome to the club.
Isn't it time for AshleyMadison.com?
So that is that. Here's, I think, one more.
AshleyMadison.com, bringing your marriage back to life.
Yeah, bring your marriage back to life. No, they are zombies. They are dead for participating in such debaucherous sin. So, well, we'll conclude all the Ashley Madison commercials with that one. Oh, what's this one? Phoner boner.
Hello. Guys, I need to talk to you about a very important subject. Something we tried to address before, but clearly you weren't listening. Men, I get it. You're very proud of your... But what makes you think it's okay to send unsolicited, poorly lit, oddly positioned, and...
Okay, this is retarded. All right, we're done with the Ashley Madison commercials. Last thing, or a few things I wanted to show you was this was the Christian couple that is prevalent in the documentary. Sam, this man right here, signed up for Ashley Madison. This was the video, again, 10 years ago. So this was about 2 years after. We're not going to watch it because I don't want to get a copyright claim. This is them lip syncing the Frozen song. And so this video went viral of them doing the Frozen song and singing along with their children in the back. And Sam, the husband there, had been living essentially a double life. And this whole thing launched. It went viral, got millions and millions of views. And they created this YouTube channel, Sam and Nia, in which they were promoting family, Christianity, all this type of stuff. And so when the leak happened, when the hack happened and all the data was released in 2015, it became known, and people knew of him because of all these public interviews he's done. So when I go to Popular here, the big one was he told his wife, this went really viral, and I remember seeing a clip of this where he basically got her urine out of the toilet and was able to find out that she was pregnant before she was, and then like tells her about it, and they get this big reaction, and this video went viral, showing that, oh, you know, how many times does it happen where the husband actually surprises the wife that she's pregnant and she's really ecstatic about it. And so their channel launched from there. They're getting so many different views. And then once his name was found out, you know, it became public and he had to recant. And he did this apology video where he said that, you know, he was with Nia and he was on the website, but he never had an affair. He never did anything. He only messaged people. And then feeling more and more convicted, and his brother telling him, hey, Sam, you need to tell Nia everything. He eventually told her everything that he had been guilty of due to the advice of also his pastor. And they were able to sort of eventually reconcile everything. So when you go to their latest videos, you can see, you know, Watching Ourselves on Netflix. I was checking out that. Did Netflix docuseries make us millionaires? And you can see they don't get the views, you know, for a YouTube channel that has what, 2.52 million subscribers. You know, their latest video 3 days ago has 8.3 thousand views. Again, it's their family. A lot of their videos are just vlogging about their family life and things that they do. So, you know, it's kind of sad. One of their recent videos was renewing their wedding vows, but at least they're able to get through it and maintain their marriage. And so what was it? It was, I put in Sam and Nia Ashley Madison. This was his apology video, which again, he wasn't telling the full truth. And then I watched this. I don't know if we want to get into it, but this is them kind of talking about how them as a Christian couple and then being a prominent Christian family had to deal with the repercussions. We can play a little bit of this. I'm not sure if he'll get copyrighted or not.
Joining us now live from Texas. Good morning to you.
Morning.
Thank you, because I think it's about 5 o'clock in the morning out there, so thank you for joining us so early. Right, you two, you've been together since your early 20s. You are very popular on YouTube. You've got over 2.5 million subscribers. You know, people love you two. You are like the fairy tale couple until, Sam, you were caught on this website for people that want affairs. How long were you on the website for, Sam? And did you come clean because you knew it was going to come out, or would you think you would have always come clean?
I was on the site for maybe a month, but no, I did not have any plans to come clean. In fact, there's a lot more to the story. If the breach didn't happen, no, this would not be out.
Okay.
Or if it was, it would be another way. So that's good. So do you think in many ways, therefore, this saved your relationship? Because if you hadn't have come out, then presumably something would have happened that would have, you know, finished your marriage and you'd be over. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely gave us a version of our marriage I never thought was possible. That's like so much better than what we had before.
So all this scandal has made you two a lot stronger.
Yes,
Definitely.
because a lot more than just the Ashley Madison scandal came out. In fact, that was the least of it. And this was how I see it as the Lord taking the small thing that I had done, exposing it to everybody because I wasn't going to expose it to the most important person, which was my wife. And then that was the beginning of me confessing a lot of other things I had done behind her back. And it set me free from all these secrets that I've been holding for so long. And I was able to expose it all to Nia, trust the Lord would have our backs afterwards. And he walked us through it all together. Here we are today, much better marriage than we ever had.
Neil, when you first heard, what was your initial reaction? And then how did you begin to kind of put those pieces together in terms of how you're going to deal with it?
I mean, well, when I first heard of the Ashley Madison hack, I was really shocked, super angry, and just embarrassed, just a number of things. But, you know, he was pretty adamant that that was the only thing he had hidden from me. And so I was really quickly ready to forgive him and just have his back and move forward together. But then once other things came out and he confessed other things to me, that took a lot more work. That was an ongoing process of just trying to decide, what do I even want? What is expected of me? You know, as someone who believes in Jesus, what does that even mean for me as a human, not even including Sam? And just really had to kind of go on a search for what it was I needed to do and wanted to do. It was a lot.
So when you say a lot, and was it multiple affairs then that Sam was having?
Yes, multiple emotional affairs and a few different physical things, you know.
And how did I'm sorry, because it seems so intrusive, but I mean, you're on this show, and how did your friends and family react? Because it's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually pretty crazy. My oldest brother was keeping our family text updated on all the things Ashley Madison, on the impact team, the hackers, and what they were threatening. And he was like basically counting down the days and saying, you know, will the impact team actually follow through on their threats and expose all these people, all these cheaters? And I'm just reading these texts from my brother in the group. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be one of these people. My brother's going to be shocked. And he was. I had to call him and told him that I was in that dump, and he was absolutely shocked. It actually took me quite a while for me to convince him that what I was saying wasn't a joke.
Okay.
Well, listen,
Yeah, and for me, it was like...
Sorry, Nia, go
Sorry.
ahead. Sorry, Nia, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just, you know, it's totally different because my family and friends found out, obviously, like kind of with the public, because it was just, you know, the dump happened and then everybody knew about it. And so it was pretty shocking for everyone.
Well, listen, mistakes were made, but obviously you guys have put it patched up and you got it together in your bed.
So anyways, now they have a book kind of discussing everything and how they got over it. The docuseries highlights that they went through like marriage counseling for months and months and months, I think almost a year. And he lived outside the home for a while. So, you know, I saw, you know, Jay Daniels said, I stayed with my cheating husband, laughing at it. I think it's good for her. You know, I think that was one of the bright spots of the docuseries, is the only couple that was able to overcome it was the Christian couple. Now, the hypocrisy of him talking about, you know, being a Christian and promoting his family. Sorry, my dog wants out. Cody, will you go? I'm doing something. He wants me to pet him and take him out. Sorry, guys. Shout out to Cody. Yes, I know, buddy. I know. But the fact that she was able to forgive him and they were able to work out their marriage, I think it's something beautiful, you know. But like I said earlier, Christ was explicit in Matthew 19:9 that adultery is one of the few things that God sees as okay to get a divorce. And so would I blame her if she got a divorce? No, I wouldn't, not at all. But the fact that they were able to maintain their family, I mean, I think they have like 5 kids now. I think that's a good thing. And I think that Christianity and the fact that she was able to eventually forgive him is something optimistic and something good. But anyways, that kind of concludes what I wanted to say about Sam and Nia. But you know, we talked about this. I was showing you a little bit of the Ruby Corp. I was trying to find the leader now of Ashley Madison. It's a guy named Rob Siegel. I don't know if some of you guys are better internet detectives, but I could not find anything on Rob Siegel. I was curious about his early life history, but I couldn't find anything on any of the people who run Ashley Madison now to know what it is that they do or think. And then here's a few articles discussing the turnaround and Ashley Madison now. And these are some of the guys that are running it. These 2 guys particularly, I was just kind of curious. They said the ads were not well received, but by everyone. Its spot, dubbed COTEL, which showed a momentary glance between a man and an unfulfilled wife in a hotel lobby, seemed to reinforce the image of an adultery site that it had been trying to overcome. So the website was trying to overcome the image of people having affairs at specific locations like hotels, though another featuring a single man on a subway could be worked as well for any other dating site. Still, Ashley Madison has a long way to go. The company is due back in court next month for a status conference and a major class action lawsuit, of which it lost. It paid like 11 some million dollars to again, not that much money for the 37 million people's data that was breached. So they had to pay a class action lawsuit for that. Our goal is to create Ruby as a digital technology in the middle of the online dating space for open-minded relationships, Siegel said. So their new CEO. Whether people have an open mind about a company with such a troubled past, that's the moment that Ashley Madison still needs to find. And then this was a conversation on the recent docuseries. This was the white guy, that black woman who was the dominatrix that we showed. This was the man who married her, and she cheated in her 2 previous marriages. And so it shows him going through and finding black women to take home to sleep with in a room adjacent from where him and his wife sleep, which his wife is okay with. So this was an article about, again, the jaw-dropping tales from the adultery site fiasco. But the cash cow was about to topple over. At this point, the series turns into a whodunit, with no real resolution, in case you're expecting a definitive answer. After receiving a ransom note, the company hires 2 Swiss tech whizzes. Yeah, so 2 guys from Sweden were then brought in to try to trace the man who hacked it. They couldn't find it. They found one man. He was an Arab gentleman in Canada, in Toronto. But he claimed that it wasn't him, even though that there was many digital fingerprints that were potentially pointing towards him. And then after further a closer look, they felt like that maybe it wasn't him, it was somebody else. But yeah, there's that. And then this was another article specifically about Sam and Nia Rader and their relationship. And so then we watched all that. Obviously, I can't show you any of the Netflix stuff. And this is where, again, where's that degenerate Noel Biederman is now. So I tracked down this little article. And so it highlighted that, again, this is reflecting on the docuseries. The 3-parter follows the story behind the rise and dramatic fall of Ashley Madison, a Canadian online dating and social network service, yada, yada, yada. We've already covered that. Firstly, who is Noel Biederman? Noel Biederman is a Canadian entrepreneur and business marketing specialist. Over the course of his career, he's landed CEO and COO, president of international lead roles for numerous businesses. In 2007, he was appointed as the CEO of Avid Life Media, the company that owns and operates Ashley Media, plus the chief executive officer of the site. At the time of acquiring the CEO position of the media company, Noel defended his agency, insisting that it doesn't promote infidelity. We're just a platform. No website or 30-second ad is going to convince anyone to cheat. People cheat because their lives aren't working for them. Again, indicative of what we saw with Dr. Phil. In some TV interviews, which we watched, Noel claimed that Ashley Madison was actually saving marriages by allowing those unhappy in their relationship to indulge in their fantasies while using a discreet service. What happened following the Ashley Madison hacking scandal? At the time of the breach, Noel was accused by hackers of not deleting user accounts, even though customers had paid for them to be removed. His own personal emails were also released in a second data dump by the Impact Group, some of which detailed numerous affairs he engaged in over the course of his own marriage with his wife, Amanda. We discussed that. 8 days after the final leak on the 28th of August in 2015, which is when some of the CEO's emails were also shared, the Ashley Madison site announced Noel's resignation, both from the website and as chief executive officer of Avid Life Media. According to a statement released by the company, Noel's departure was in the best interest of the company. Well, where is Noel now? I really couldn't find much on the guy. According to Noel's LinkedIn profile, he's currently juggling a few different roles and titles in the business world, all of which seem pretty high up. As of now, he's the CEO of Toronto-based software company Avenue Insights and strategic advisor at Wonderfy, a modern wealth generation company that provides access to the latest technologies and financial tools. In the documentary, we see Amanda reveal in an interview that she would be devastated if Noel had been unfaithful to her. However, in Ashley Madison, Lies, Sex, Lies, and Scandal, we see of Noel's emails to sex workers and other women trying to arrange a night together. Noel declined to take part in the new Netflix documentary. However, a spokesperson for the businessman confirmed to the team that Noel was a committed husband and father. So it would appear that he and Amanda are still together. And that's basically all you can find out about him. He has a very small internet footprint after the Ashley Madison fiasco. So it is what it is. But anyways, guys, that's going to pretty much wrap up the stream. If you want to see what it is, if you have a Netflix account, you can look up Ashley Madison, Sex, Lies, and Scandal. It's all there. And, it's unfortunate that these degenerate things exist in our society, and there's not more outspokenness about, the fact that it shouldn't exist. I would love for another hacker group to hack Ashley Madison again, release now the 71 million profiles that exist, and oust the people who are running it. I think that would be fantastic. But, who am I? Maybe that's not God's will as of right now. So, anyways, that's going to do the stream. I want to give a special thank you to Blue Skittle, who throws in $5, no comment. Thank you very, very much, brother, for the support. Really appreciate that. Thank you, Blue Skittle. And that looks like that is all the super chat. So that will do it for me, guys. I expect to be back tomorrow morning with Dr. Michael Moeller. We're going to be continuing our series on finding God in the West. Tomorrow, we'll be discussing stories about psychedelics and our New Age experiences. We'll potentially be opening that up for people at the end of the stream. So anybody listening, if you also were engaged in the psychedelics and the New Age and the spiritual, not religious, we have tons of war stories about that. And so we hope that anybody who also dove into that, maybe you guys can come on and share some of your thoughts and experiences. Logan Daly, oh my gosh, he just gifted 5 COTEL Crew memberships. Thank you so much, Logan. Really appreciate all your support, brother. Shout out to Byron Alfaro for your new membership. Melly, John D, Jay Daniel, and Dance to the Beat. All you guys just got memberships from the one and only Logan Daly. Really appreciate you, Logan. Oh, and we got another one that came in right after it. Justin just gifted 5 COTEL Crew memberships. Thank you so much, Justin. God bless you, brother. Welcome, both and Slow John, Overlord 3001, Itasca, and thank you. We're all gifted COTEL Crew memberships. So thank you guys very, very much for that generous support. Shout out to Logan Daly and Justin. Thank you guys very much. Really appreciate that. Logan's been a long-time supporter. Thank you, Logan, for everything that you do, man. Really appreciate it. And so I think that's going to do everything for today. Oh, and BMX throws in $10. Thank you so much. I wonder if that's BMX 1966. Thank you so much, BMX, for the $10 super chat over on Streamlabs. Really appreciate you, man. And Logan said, much love and God bless everyone. Well, appreciate it, Logan. God bless you, man. Much love to you and your family as well. Hope everything's going good. And shout out to Candace Spence, our ortho sister. She says, God bless all you wonderful bigots. Have a great night. Well, thank you so much, Candace Spence. And Melly just gifted 5 COTEL Crew memberships. Thank you so much, Melly. Really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Welcome, Oma. Welcome, Mango. Welcome, See Me Roland. Welcome, Nathaniel. And welcome, Ways of the Jedi 808s. All gifted COTEL Crew memberships. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much, Melly. Really appreciate that, guys. Really appreciate the generous gifting of super chats right at the end of the stream here. Thank you very, very much, everyone. Really appreciate that. So, anyways, everybody enjoy your new memberships. Like I said, I'll be back tomorrow with Dr. Michael Moeller. Should be another fun convo. We got a bunch of psychedelic war stories, both the good, the bad, and the ugly, if you will. So we'll be getting into details about our experiences with psychedelics, the New Age, everything that kind of derailed us from the authentic path to God, the Orthodox Church, and how eventually we came back. So we'll be getting into all that tomorrow. Really appreciate you guys. God bless you all. Have a wonderful weekend. And I will see you all next time. So let me just double check. Nothing else came in. All right. Well, thank you again. Major thank you to Foregone, Logan Daly, Justin, and Melly for especially the last three for gifting the super chats. Over on Dono Chat, thank you, Blue Skittle. Thank you, Anonymous. And thank you, David Atlas, for your guys' support. And over on Streamlabs, thank you, BMX. And thank you, Wildcaster, for your guys' support. Truly appreciate it. As always, I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, God bless.